Welcome back to another episode of the Casey Campbell Podcast. Casey Campbell with you, of course. Pleased to be joined by Mark Eddy, the head football coach at South Haven. How's it going?
Excellent. Thanks. How are you?
Doing well. So, kind of talk about how these first few days of practice have been going for you.
The first couple of days, in my opinion, were really good. Our numbers are good. Our attitudes and effort is really good. And my assistant coach, it's gone pretty, it's usually kind of like chaotic, but it's been pretty smooth. So I give a lot of credit to my coaches being ready to roll.
Yeah. So going into this upcoming season, just kind of for people that might not be familiar with your team, just kind of talk about how the summer went, how recapping how last year went and all that.
Okay, I'll backtrack from last year. Um, we lost three heartbreakers basically in a row in the last 45 or 30 seconds. Uh, uh, and it was just kind of soul crushing. you know, we put the ball in the hands of a kid. We got the ball back with 45 seconds in one game, put the ball in a kid's hands on the last play, and he just couldn't hang on. It's like doggone it. And the next week they scored, I think, in the last 30 seconds. The week after that, they tied us up, and then they scored in the last. I'm like, if we had done one more thing right anywhere, we win all three of those games, and we go to the playoffs.
Yeah.
Nothing to write home about. And the week after those three, we beat Water Elite, an excellent football program, and they were driving, and we'll say we forced a fumble inside the 5-yard line, and them going in, and that was it. Three heartbreakers in a row and another another cardiac game at the next one after that. So
Yeah, for sure. So how did the
that's that
summer
part.
go
That's
for
kind
you
of like
guys?
last year. Pardon?
So how'd the summer go for you guys?
Summer was decent. As the coach, you're never satisfied with how much the kids are doing. But we have a lot of kids who work. We got a lot of kids from a lot of different backgrounds. So some kids work all the time. Some kids have, they don't have great home lives necessarily, kind of unstable, and everybody's doing their best they can. But it's not always easy to balance all those things. So weight room is decent. A lot of kids doing things on their own. I know that they're doing. Um, Weight room should be a lot better. Uh, 7-on-7s I thought were productive, and our camp I thought was pretty productive. It went smooth too. So that puts us today basically.
All right. All right, so time to talk about some of the guys that are coming back on your team and some of the guys to watch out for. So let's start with the skill positions with quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and then we'll work our way down.
Okay, coming back at quarterback is Brady Dannenberg. He's a senior. He's an excellent run pass combination. He's about 6 feet, just over 6 feet tall. He's 220 pounds, and he's fast for a big guy. And he's got a really strong arm. Now he's getting to the point where he's figuring out the nuances of the position. So I'm really excited for him. He's put in, twice a week, every day since January. So put in a lot of work there. So I think Brady's going to have a really good senior year. My running back is Xavier Harrington, um, senior again, excellent athlete, great young man. He's a little bit bigger than Brady by poundage wise, and he's faster than Brady. And so they're our running back combination. So both had good years last year as juniors. So now they're developing in their leadership position, and I think they'll even be better. So I'm really excited about those two. My whiteout is coming back is Parker Williamson. He's a senior. He'll play whiteout defensive back. um, and he is the best way to say he's the youngest of the three brothers that I've got to coach, and all three of them are super scrappy. They're really nice guys, and then they have this really gritty, mean streak in them. So he's this uber competitor. So I think we'll be excellent right there as well as far as those three. Um, So like those are my three guys on offense right there. My Z, or kind of my slot guy, he's also a senior. Shane Only, um, he's 6'1", 215, and he can run a sub 540, which I didn't know until springtime. And he's got pretty good hands. Farm kid type.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about the offensive line and the defensive line.
Okay. Couple of guys. I'll just lay them out there real quickly. I have a returning guy that I brought up as a freshman, sophomore last year, Gavin Covey. He plays right now. He plays our outside tackle. He's kind of we label him our best guy. He's got to perform as our best guy. And he had some growing pains last year. He got hurt a little bit early, so it took him out a little while. But what I've noticed at camp, he seems to be a lot more mature. Or he seems to be kind of a more mature guy this year. So I think he takes it with a little bit more of a kind of a seasoned veteran approach. Of, hey, I'm an offensive lineman, and this is what I do, right? And I know I have to learn the nuances of it, and then I'm going to be really good at it. So I think that's where we're at as far as that's concerned. Landon Sutherland, another young man I brought up early as a sophomore, played the center. Same thing. He's kind of big guy. He's quick for a big guy. I think it matters to him. Same thing. I think he's going to get that savvy of being experience under his belt. And you can kind of tell just after a couple of days that he's a different player than he was even at the end of last season. Right. So those guys are pretty good. I'll go, let's see, who's my, I should have made him first. The next guy is first. I should have mentioned him first. Simon Hyatt. He's my power guard. He is my sole senior. He's one of my seniors on the group. And he's pretty much our best overall offensive lineman. He can play at all the positions, strong, fast. He's lost some. He's trimmed down, so he's not quite the big guy he used to be, but he's in excellent shape, and he's the leader of that group. So I'm really excited about his senior. He's going to be awesome. And I'll go one more. New guy is Matthias Bray, and he is a junior. He's going to be our tight end, our Y. Really big kid. He's like 6'4", 235, can block, and he's a great basketball player too. And he can kind of play, he can kind of play three-dimensional football. He's so tall. He's got great hands. So he can, he's 6'4", but he can catch up here with no problem. So that he's going to be a matchup problem for, hopefully a lot of people.
Yeah. What about defense? The defensive line, where's that at?
Well, I'll throw in a different guy. Not on. I didn't mention offense. Dakota Gagnon, he's returning senior. He and his family moved from Washington a year and a half ago, and he played with us. And he had never played. He'd only played defense, and I made him play offense last year because that's where I needed him. And came from a really big school. Like I don't know, they must have had 100+ kids on their varsity. So competition was really tough, and he's been a great addition to our team, our community, his family as well. And he works his tail off. He has a really cool gym of his own because his mom's a power lifter too. He's in great shape. I think he's going to have an excellent year. So another one who's kind of a defensive end outside linebacker is the sophomore Jacob Bosma. He's one of our top. We have a thing called Super Ram. It's a kind of a ranking of our, combination of the strength and speed guys. And he's a sophomore, but I think he was top 3 out of the whole school, maybe top 5 out of the whole school. So I'm like, he has to be with us. Excuse me. He'll do an excellent job this year. Cade Hahn, he's an inside linebacker. He's a junior. When you look at him, he looks undersized and he doesn't look too fast, but he's a super smart kid. And once he learns his keys, he snaps to the line of scrimmage and makes plays at the line of scrimmage in a way that you didn't think he could based on how he's built. But he's also had a great offseason. He's one of the best kids in the weight room all summer long. I'll give you one more. I'll go Elijah Eddy. He's my son. He's a junior. He will start at corner. He's a really solid football player. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes. He's a sniper of a tackler, and he's really reliable. So I think kind of wherever he is, I don't have to worry about bad things happening where he's at. So I think he'll have a great junior year. I think myself and his teammates have more confidence in him than he does himself. To be
Yeah.
honest with you.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so I know we kind of talked about a lot of the players. Now let's talk about the schedule. Just to remind everybody, what conference are you in?
We're in the SAC, and we are in the lakeside of the lakeshore version of the SAC. It's a lot of teams in it. It's kind of grown to like 16 teams since they broke us up in a couple parts, and so we're in the SAC and we're in the Lakeshore division.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll just read off the schedule. You might have to help me out with some of these. Dowanac, is that how you
No, Dowagiac.
Dowajak. I'm sorry.
That's all
Um,
right.
so
Dowagiac.
you start off at home with Dowajak. Uh,
Yep.
August 31st, you'll home against Ada Forest Hills Eastern, and then September 8th
Yes.
at Delton Kellogg, September 15th at Lawton, September 22nd, home against Allegian,
Allegan.
Allegan, I'm sorry,
That's
September
right.
22nd, home against Allegan, September 29th, home against Parchman. You might have to help me out with this one. October 6th at um,
Watervliet.
Watervliet. Um,
Mm-hmm.
um, October 13th, home against Constantine. Is that how you say it?
Constantine.
Constantine. And then October 20th at Kalamazoo Hackett Catholic Prep to finish out the season. So
Yeah,
had to get a lot of those
they go by.
pronunciations.
Yeah, the Hackett Prep goes by the tag word United
Yeah,
because the Catholic school in Kalamazoo united with the Christian school in Kalamazoo,
right.
so they go by United. So they're the two parochial teams, two parochial schools, and they combine their football program. I don't know, 10 years ago maybe something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So talk about the schedule you guys have.
Okay, I'll just kind of run through them real quickly. Dowagiac has a tradition, great football tradition, very tough, uh, things like that. They weren't as typically as tough as they were last year, as they had last year as had been the past. Um, so we played pretty well, played decently against those guys, and were able to beat them. Forest Hills Eastern, really good football program, bigger than us. They're a D4 school. Um, but I kind of put them on the schedule and told the guys, like, if we basically said, if you want to win playoff games, this D4 team is what playoff D5 teams are going to look like. That's how good they're going to be. And we have to kind of respond to the travel, playing at their house, you know, all those things that go along with it if we want to be successful at that. So that's kind of why we did that. Delton Kellogg, they're a full house T team. They got us. They're the team. They scored with 45 seconds left on the clock. And again, we got down the field and couldn't score on them. So I think uh, that's going to be a tough one. Their JV got our JV, but uh, I thought our JV got a lot better throughout the course of the year later. So that's a pretty good. I think that's going to be a tough matchup. What was after that? That's Len Lawton,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, Lawton,
Lawton's excellent.
Kellogg.
Lawton's excellent. They have had a great run. They're going to be really difficult again this year. They have good team speed. They have good numbers, and they're a small town. Um, I think we are maybe 550 uh, Division Four, excuse me, Division Five. They're Division 6 or 7, and they're just excellent. Uh, Coach Wade does a great job. Coach High is the defensive guy. Is an old friend. They awesome. So they stomped us last year. We have a lot of work to do to match them. Um, I'm trying to think who's next. Then it's who's next? I don't have it in front
Allegan.
of me. Allegan, barn burner. They beat us on the last play in overtime. You know, and so they're our traditional rival. I think they'll be decent again next year. They're going to be a little bit better than they were last year, but I think we're better too. All right, and of course, we were their homecoming. And then we went to Parchment and lost to them in a close one. We were their homecoming, and like a couple times in the Allegan game, the Parchment game, I'm like, man, this game's over. I have these guys. We have these guys. Which we haven't beat. We just have to just eat one more minute of clock or score one thing or do one more thing right, and then and it didn't happen. Maybe because we were kind of young, you know. Um, Watervliet will be back. They're well coached. I think they lose their. They had a really good offense. They had a really handful of really good kids. They're excellent. The quarterback, a lineman, their outside linebacker, excellent. So they might not be as good as they were last year, but they're still going to be pretty darn good. They're well coached. Then we go to Constantine. Then Constantine comes to our house. They have a great Coach Griffin down there has a great tradition. They're well coached. They all work hard. We're gonna have to bust our tails to match them. I mean, really, personally, if I'm circling one on the calendar for myself, it's that one because I have a lot of respect for what Coach Griff has done down there, and I watch, as I spy on him and see what he does. I'm like, all right, I'll kind of copy things that Constantine does because they do it right. So, then United.
Yep.
Last year, two problems with last year. The head coach of United, his name is Troy Ayatt. He's a friend of mine. And when he changed leagues, we didn't think we'd. Okay, we had a playoff game. It was really close till the middle of the third quarter. They pulled away from us, and then they changed leagues, and I was in my league. And we're like, he goes, man, I didn't want to do that. And last year, I really thought we outplayed them quite often. We were physical. I thought we should have beat them. We had like three or four, at least three touchdown passes that we just flat out dropped, right through our hands or in and out of our hands. And so we couldn't put enough pressure on them. Then they didn't have to worry about, doing too much, so to speak. They could stay within their game plan and just keep grinding it out. And they pulled away from us. And I was pretty just, watching the game. When I finally did go back and watch the game, I was just, man, we should have beat those guys. But, we didn't, and that's the way it is.
Yeah. So really, in these next few weeks today at practice, you get to use the shells, of course. First day in those. So what are
Yeah,
you?
sure.
So what's the plan for today and tomorrow? Now that you've graduated the shells.
Well, we're trying big picture wise as far as practice is concerned is always to be super efficient, super fast. So a lot of as many quality reps as you can. That way the kids' feet are pumping all the time, their hearts are pumping all the time. They get used to that constant action in football. And then we'd like to say, for example, offensively, we're going to work on our trap game. It's not been our best, so I'm trying to get it installed a little earlier this year and work on that. And then when we break into, then we backtrack. Then we'll kind of go backtrack and work on our passing offense a little bit. I do have some guys who can throw, pitch and catch a little bit. So we've been trying to increase that as well. Defensively, right this time of year, really trying to push everybody, just being lined right and really hustling. Get to the spots where you got to go. And I was telling some of the kids yesterday that every defense has a weakness. So we have a pursuit drill that's set up that attacks all the weaknesses in our basic defense, and that's where we kind of always we throw the ball to there, or we run the ball to that spot, or something like that. So the kids all have to know, okay, that's the weak spot, and I know I got to hustle to get there all the time. And if I can just make that not easy for people, you're in pretty. And that's high school, you're in pretty good shape.
All right.
Excuse me.
All right. Well, Mark, thank you so much for coming on and talking with us, and best of luck to you guys this season.
Thank you, Casey. I appreciate it very much. Have a great day.